राधाखिलहरी कल्लोलमग्नोन्मुहो वन्दे रूपसनातन रघुजुगं श्रीजीव गोपालकौ कृष्ण कीर्तन कानन तन परं प्रेमामृताम्बनिधि कृष्ण कीर्तन कानन तन परं प्रेमामृताम्बनिधि कुजत कोकिलहंस संसार सुगण कीर्णे मयूराकुले नाना रत्न निबद्ध मूल विटप श्रीयुक्त वृंदावने राधा कृष्ण महर्निशं प्रव्रजतौ जीवार्थदौ जौ बुधा वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुजुगं श्रीजीव गोपालकं कृष्ण कीर्तन गानन तन परं प्रेमामृताम्बनिधि धीराधीर जनप्रियं प्रियकरं निमत्सरं पूजितं शङ्खापूर्वक नामगाननतिभिः कालावसानिकृतं निद्राहार विहारकादिविदितं चत्तन्तौ दीनौ च जं शङ्खापूर्वक नामगाननतिभिः कालावसानिकृतं निद्राहार विहारकादिविदितं चत्तन्तौ दीनौ च जं गोपी भावरसामृता दिलहरी कल्लोलमग्नोन्मुहो वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुजुगं श्रीजीव गोपालकं कृष्ण कीर्तन कानन तन परं प्रेमामृताम्बनिधि कृष्ण कीर्तन गानन तन परं
कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. All glories to the Sankirtan movement, of which all of you are members. Yes, you are. Now, we may not be working together very much in the sense that we're cooperating to spread the mission, but you're participating in hearing the philosophy of Krishna consciousness on a regular basis. And this is the secret of success in spiritual life. To hear the words of the spiritual master, unadulterated, unedited, not compromised. Prabhupada never compromised. And somehow or other, the Vapu philosophy of other groups is how they base their so-called direction in spiritual life. You have to have a personal guru that can speak to you and give you direction. No, that's not true. Actually, the real important principle is Vani, hearing the words of the spiritual master, because those words never die. They always live. Vaishnavas never die. They live on in the transcendental sounds that they give to the conditioned soul to illuminate them out of the state of confusion, delusion. It's words that are the power, not the body. This body is a place of ignorance, of repeated birth and death. Somehow or other, we've fallen into this ocean. We're in an ocean. And of all the senses, the tongue is very difficult, Michael Dillon, to control. And so words are very important. Vani, not physical presence. Okay, it's very merciful if we get the chance to associate with Srila Prabhupada personally, which we did, myself and Yashoda, and some of us else, some other people in this group. I know that Yashoda Nandana Prabhu has been to hundreds of Prabhupada's lectures in person. And I had the positive experience, the transcendental experience, to be at maybe 175 of his lectures personally. So that was a good thing. But more important is to associate with Prabhupada in his words, in his books, the unchanged messages that he gave to humanity to liberate us, Michael, out of this confusion. We're bewildered. Yes, we are. We're fallen. Words are very important, everyone. Recently, and words, Nilesh Sharma, I see you came on the screen. You missed the first section here. But words are the essence of our teachings, the Vani. I wanted to read a section from the Nectar of Devotion for all of us. I'm studying of that right now. I'm just, unfortunately, just about finished. I always get to the end of these books, I think, geez, I wish I wasn't ending this book. I wish there was no end, because it's so engaging as you continue to read. You're like, this is fantastic. I always say that, well, this is remarkable. I can barely understand most of it, but even the little bit of understanding that you get from Prabhupada's causeless mercy in his books is beyond any other pleasure you can experience in this world. Yes, people think they can find happiness in this material world. There is no happiness here. So here we're reading about chapter 46, Astonishment and Chivalry. This is very important. An instance of astonishment in devotional service by indirect perception occurred when Maharaj Parikshit heard that Shukadeva Goswami, from Sri Shukadeva Goswami about Krishna's killing Nakasura, who had been fighting Krishna with 11 divisions of Akshohini soldiers. Each division of Akshohini soldiers contained several thousand elephants, several thousand horses and chariots, and several hundreds of thousands of infantry soldiers. Narakasura possessed 11 such divisions, and all of them were throwing arrows towards Krishna. But Krishna killed them all. Simply by throwing 3 arrows from his side. When Maharaj Parikshit heard of this wonderful victory, he immediately rubbed the tears from his eyes and became overwhelmed with joy. This instance is an example of astonishment in devotional service by indirect perception through oral reception. This instance is an example of astonishment in devotional service. I'm repeating it for everyone, just so you get the message without any question and without any doubt that the words of the spiritual master are more important than the personal presence, by indirect perception through oral reception. Any confusion, Rochisha, Devidasi? Any? No. This is the fact. If you can just understand one word from the spiritual master, that will deliver you out of this material world. One word, or 2, chant Hare Krishna, or 3. That's that simple, and everything will be revealed. Another simple explanation of the power of words. Krishna is present in his name. Do you see Krishna, Rochisha Devidasi? Can you see Krishna? Well, you can see him in his pictures, and you can see him in the books. Yes, we see by hearing. Prabhupada told us that. A devotee sees through hearing, not by the eye. The eye is very imperfect. But the ear, you can travel throughout the universe. You can understand everything through hearing, especially from the spiritual master. When you chant Hare Krishna, it is a transcendental sound vibration. Prabhupada said this: when you chant the holy name, Krishna is dancing on the tip of your tongue. Can you see that? You can hear it. This yoga is based on hearing, on transcendental sound. Please understand this is the value of this process. People, they go, oh, you need to have the guru. Well, if the guru is lying to you, if he's saying to you what's more important for Vapu than Vani, that's misinformation. That's not true. We defy them. Come, let's talk about this. Tell me how deep your realization is if you say Vapu is more important than Vani. You're wrong. Look, Prabhupada created a whole encyclopedia of information, and it's small, actually. I was listening to a lecture of Prabhupada the other day. He's saying there are so many shlokas in the scriptures. 800 in the Gita, 18,000 in the Srimad Bhagavatam, hundreds of thousands of shlokas in the Mahabharata, and on it goes. The Vedas is vast. But unfortunately in the West, people have not heard one simple truth from the Vedas. And that's the power of these books. And hopefully when we distribute these books, and I wanted to speak just briefly about book distribution, it's important that we get books to people that want them. Okay, it's okay. Say, for example, you go out and you sell, we used to sell books on the street, you hustle them up, it was called the change up. That was a system that that former devotee of Prabhupada's, what was his name? Tripurari. He invented the change up, where you get the money. I don't have the change. Can you leave the whole 5 or whole 10 or the whole 20? And you take the money, you take it back. Okay, so it's all positive, but really, really selling books means to preach to people, cultivate them, inspire them, and then get the opportunity to get them to buy the books and study them on their own and feel the ecstasy of the transcendental words of the spiritual master. And practice the system of bhakti yoga. Selling books, they used to sell books in Yashodanandana Prabhu. They used to sell books in the Chicago airport. They used to call it O'Hare Airport. Because we went there. I used to go there quite a bit. My friend Uttama Shloka, who joined the movement with me, or I with him, let's say, back in 1970, he became when I was made the president by, I don't know, by some Krishna's arrangement, he was transferred to Chicago. And so we were two presidents of the movement back then. And same with Nandi in Montreal. He was my friend, very good friend of mine. We went to Jagannath Puri multiple times and did programs there and had amazing transcendental pastimes in Prabhupada's movement back in the early days. So anyway, we used to go to the airport in before they stopped it. Remember, there was some legal battle that went on, and eventually, because everybody went overboard, and there is freedom of religion, or there's no freedom of religion in Canada, really. But up in America, they have that freedom of religion. So people used to go out in the airports, and we would sell millions of books. Karna, she sold 1 million BTGs a year in Chicago. So we were selling books, and that's too bad that we don't sell BTGs anymore. But you go by the garbage bins after, and you find the garbage bins filled with books. Well, is that good? Well, selling is good. I'm a professional salesman in a certain way. I've sold tens of millions of dollars of things in my careers, various careers. But what is the value of selling if you cannot sell to people that want them? We want people to be inspired to get the chance to read the original Srimad Bhagavatam, unadulterated. Yeah, sure, there's flaws in some of the scripts, and for whatever reason, I'm not going to go into that. But the essence of the truth is in these books. The Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita as it is, nectar of devotion, Vani incarnation, not Vapu. Don't be misled, and don't let other people be misled by this hoax of these so-called fake gurus that are running around the world collecting disciples and money. And I said this before. We myself and Yashodanandana Prabhu, my dear godbrother and your dear godbrother, we discussed this. Deep state, the ISKCON deep state. Why is it deep? Because it's been going on for years and years and years. Lies and lies and lies. Bank accounts filled up with money. They have tens of millions of dollars stashed. Do you know that? Pure Angelo, they have 10, maybe 200, 300, 400, $500 million hidden from the eyes of the devotees. There is no transparency because they are fake gurus. They preach vapu over vani. This is not right. And we hope somehow or other in the future that this will be exposed on the strength of devotees standing up and telling the truth and letting people understand this is not the way to go back home, back to Godhead. And I'm going to finish off now, I'm sorry. We want all of you to think about this. We have to work together. There is no option. There is no option. You can say whatever you want. You can think whatever you want. Everybody has, but join this effort that we're organizing. This movement of the Hare Krishna Society and the Prabhupada Disciples Association is telling the truth to everybody. That's the fact. We are. The highest truth, that Prabhupada's legacy must be protected in his books, in his letters, in his lectures, without any change. And some of our godbrothers don't understand that, and they Prabhus, must be exposed, and for us, ignored as irrelevant. So think about this. We're going to go forward with our conversation, but it's most important for us, for each one of us, to come together and start to see each other as a team. Teamwork makes dreams work. No teamwork, you're on your own. Most people are on their own. We're all on our own in a relative sense, but by the use of technology, we come together. And I'm glad at least we have, how many people do we have today? 23. What can you do? People get on the train, they get off the train. We keep going. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who protect the Vani incarnation of Srila Prabhupada. Let's go ahead with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava and then the wonderful verse and explanation by Yashoda Nandana Prabhu, who's in the mountains of California in the snow. Harimo. Sounds like a poet.
Singh. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गौ गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya Narayanam namaskritya Naram chaiva narottamam Naram chaiva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavad Gita, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Bhagavad Gita. It should be noted that this reading is being conducted on the basis of the original, non-adulterated, non-edited version of Bhagavad Gita, the 1972 Macmillan edition. And as Srila Prabhupada introduced certain invocation slokas in the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita in 1966, we will proceed with reading the same. This is from page number 1 in the original book. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Trichaitanyamano bhishtam stapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kadamahyam dadati svapadantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada was established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vichakanvitamscha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatana Goswami, as well as Raghunath Dasa and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopala Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar Srivas, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates Sri Lalita and Vishaka. E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. O my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and is the queen of Vrindavana. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We will proceed with our assigned verse this week. We are reading from chapter 12, text number 15. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Yasmanudvijate loko, lokanudvijate chaya, arshamarsha bayudveger, mukto yah sachame priyaha, yasmat, from whom, na, never, udvijate, agitates, lokaha, persons, lokat, persons, na, never, advijate, disturbed, cha, also, ya, anyone, arsha, happiness, amarsha, distress, baya, fearfulness, udvege, with anxiety, mukta, freed, ya, who, sa, anyone, cha, also, me, my, priya, very dear. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. he for whom no one is put into difficulty, and who is not disturbed by anxiety, who is steady in happiness and distress, is very dear to me. Purport. A few of the devotee's qualifications are further being described. No one is put into difficulty, anxiety, fearfulness, or dissatisfaction by such a devotee. Since a devotee is kind to everyone, he does not act in such a way to put others into anxiety. At the same time, if others try to put the devotee into anxiety, he is not disturbed. It is by the grace of the Lord that he is so practiced that he is not disturbed by any outward disturbance. Actually, because the devotee is always engrossed in Krishna consciousness and engaged in devotional service, all such material circumstances cannot woo him. Generally, a materialistic person becomes very happy when there is something for his sense gratification in his body. But when he sees that others have something for their sense gratification and he hasn't, he is sorry and envious. When he's expecting some retaliation from an enemy, he is in a state of fear. And when he cannot successfully execute something, he becomes dejected. But a devotee is always transcendental to all these disturbances. Therefore, he is very dear to Krishna. Text number 16. Anapekshaha suchirdaksha udasino gatavyataha sarvaramba parityagi yo madbhakta samepriyaha. Anapekshaha, neutral. Shuchihi, pure. Dakshaha, expert. Udasinaha, free from care. Gatavyataha, freed from all distress. Sarva arambha, all endeavors. Parityagi, renouncer. Yaha, anyone. Matbhaktaha, my devotee. Sah, he. Me. Priyaha, very dear. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. A devotee who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from all pains, and who does not strive for some result, is very dear to me. Purport. Money may be offered to a devotee, but he should not struggle to acquire it. If automatically, by the grace of the Supreme, money comes to him, he is not agitated. Naturally, a devotee takes bath at least twice in a day and rises early in the morning for devotional service. Thus, he is naturally clean both inwardly and outwardly. A devotee is always expert, because he fully knows the sense of all activities of life, and he is convinced of the authoritative scriptures. A devotee never takes the part of a particular party, therefore he is carefree. He is never pained because he is free from all designations. He knows that his body is a designation, so if there are some bodily pains, he is free. The pure devotee does not endeavor for anything which is against the principles of devotional service. For example, constructing a big building requires great energy, and a devotee does not take to such business if it does not benefit him by advancing his devotional service. He may construct a temple for the Lord, and for that he may take all kinds of anxiety, but he does not construct a big house for his personal relations. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pasatyadeshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhakti Vedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasme Sugurave Namah Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sarkara Yuktam Kadate hi Visheshatah Adadana Strinam Danteridam Yache Punah Punah Srimad Rupa Padam Bhojadulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyam Sadadaso Asmi Saravata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Presta Satkaromismam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In 1971, in Calcutta, Srila Prabhupada explained that devotees should not take a bath after eating. They should take a bath before eating. What happened is that in front of the Calcutta Temple on Albert Road, there was a pond, some municipal pond, a fairly large pond, and devotees would go there after taking prasadam, and they would take a bath. So Prabhupada convened the devotees in his room and explained to them that do not take a bath after you eat because it will interfere with your digestion. You should take a bath before you eat. That is the proper way. And Prabhupada explained, obviously, take a bath early in the morning during Brahma Muhurta, especially early, and that will be most beneficial. Some of you may be familiar. There's a shloka. When we take bath, we try to bring the water, the sacred water of the holy rivers of India. Gange cha Yamune cheva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jalesmin Sannidim Kuru. That we are humbly requesting the sacred rivers of Yamuna, Ganga, Godavari, Saraswati, Sindhu River, like that, to come in the water, so one may become sanctified. That is a very easy mantra to learn and very transcendental. I've often related the story how Srila Prabhupada one time asked Guru Kripa and my lowly self, what time do you people get up in the morning? What do you do? And we told Prabhupada, well, in those days, because we were on traveling Sankirtan, we were living in a van, and some way or other, we would rent some small motel or find some water tap somewhere, and we would take a cold bath, 3:45, 4 o'clock in the morning. And Prabhupada said, oh, yes, when I was living at the Radha Damodar temple, Prabhupada said, I used to take cold bath at that time. Now, for those of you who have been in India, especially in December, in January in Vrindavan, it gets pretty cold. It doesn't get freezing like it does here in Hamilton, Ontario, or Canada, or places like Switzerland or Scandinavia or Canada, but it gets cold. It gets almost to the freezing point. So I can imagine if Srila Prabhupada, oh, thank you, Guru Goswami Prabhu, he put the actual mantra of the, let me see if we can find the actual verse here. Gange cha Yamune cheva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jalismin Sannidim Kuru. This is the actual mantra. So Srila Prabhupada explained that he was taking a bath at that time. And Prabhupada said, if you take your bath during Brahma Muhurta, take a cold bath or a cold shower, it will prolong your life. Even in the Ayurvedic literatures, it is described that taking a bath at that time is very beneficial for heart health, for general health and everything. Of course, as one becomes advanced in age, sometimes it becomes a little bit difficult, or in a place like Montreal or Scandinavia, it might be a little difficult, but it's still very nice, very transcendental. It's quite significant here in these transcendental verses. There's a lot of different qualities which are very exalted. Because I've had devotees ask me in the past, how are we supposed to develop all these qualities? There's so many of them. Because Prabhupada explains that devotee does not necessarily need to try to develop these qualities independently, but simply by chanting the Maha Mantra and following the process. Gradually, all these qualities will develop. Now, this is very important. Just recently, we had a devotee's wife in Italy who unfortunately got involved into an accident, no fault of her own. But she was being protected by Lord Krishna. Some way or other, not disturbed. She was very equipoised, not disturbed at all, and simply kept her practice of chanting, although it was somewhat of a difficulty and everything. So this is an example of a devotee who, despite a reverse circumstance, an adverse circumstance, was able to tolerate the situation without complaining. We do have so many examples of devotees who have gotten very special protection by Krishna. Very special protection. I know because I used to speak with Aprakrita at least once or twice a week in French from Montreal, and he used to tell me so many examples because Aprakrita was always busy distributing books. He had a little radio channel, he had a website, but he was always busy contacting devotees and preaching. And occasionally he was telling me, because Montreal, Canada can be quite challenging with the weather. I'm sure Rochi Samataji can testify to that. It can be quite a place that very difficult. Same thing with Hamilton, Ontario. It is not an easy place to live. There's a lot of snow. The weather can be very extreme for several months of the year. But what was amazing about Aprakrita, he never, ever complained. He's not like me. I complain every day about the weather. But him, he was completely transcendental to it because he was always absorbed thinking of Prabhupada and how to do some service. He used to preach to different devotees in Switzerland, in Europe, in Quebec, in Canada, both in French and English. We know that Prabhupada was completely transcendental. All of us have seen pictures of Srila Prabhupada in 1966, 1965 in New York with a long coat. He's on the subway, he's walking in the snow, he's got some hat, but Prabhupada never complained. He was totally beyond the influence of the modes of nature. This is the difference between a sadhaka and somebody who is a mukta purusha or a liberated soul. Because a liberated soul knows that these circumstances are temporary. They're not permanent. They're part and parcel of being in the material world. So complaining about them is not going to do anything. It's not going to change anything. What does it say in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text number 14? This is very important because after Krishna told Arjuna that, my dear Arjuna, Dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara, tata dehantara praptir dirastatra damuhyati. Krishna is starting his instruction to Arjuna as the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age. The soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Then Prabhupada, in the next text, Lord Krishna explains, Matras parsastu kanteya, this is from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text number 14 on page 90. Matras parsastu kanteya, shitoshna sukha dukkha daha, agama payato nityas, tam stitiksasva bharata. O son of Kunti, The non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception or sign of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Prabhupada explains nicely in the purport, in the proper discharge of duty, one has to learn to tolerate non-permanent appearances and disappearances of happiness and distress. According to Vedic injunction, one has to take his bath early in the morning, even during the month of Magh, January, February. It is very cold at that time. But in spite of that, a man who abides by the religious principles does not hesitate to take his bath. Similarly, a woman does not hesitate to cook in the kitchen in the months of May and June, the hottest part of the summer season. One has to execute his duty in spite of climactic inconveniences. Similarly, to fight is the religious principle of the Kshatriyas. And although one has to fight with some friend or relative, one should not deviate from his prescribed duty. One has to follow the prescribed rules and regulations of religious principles in order to rise up to the platform of knowledge, because by knowledge and devotion, one can liberate himself from the clutches of Maya. Now, this is quite significant because we see later on in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 18 that Krishna is telling Arjuna, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nasochati Nakankshati. Krishna gives the characteristics, of a liberated soul, of a truly learned person. Nasochati Nakankshati, one does not lament and does not unnecessarily hanker. We see every day in the newspapers, the radio, the internet, television, Facebook, so many people are complaining. All complaining. Sochati, always complaining. Kankshati, and always hankering. When the hankering is not satisfied, then they complain. This is quite evident in the field of politics. We see right now there's some dispute between the United States and Canada over some tariffs that are being discussed. And there are so many complaints. People are complaining this way, complaining that way. Taxes are too high. Taxes are this way. This government official did this. This government official did that. This person is not good. That person is not good. We should replace this government official with another person or another program, another policy. Okay, this is the material world. This will always go on. This will never stop. It has always been going on. It is currently going on, and it will always go on. Why? Because there's the nature of the world. Dukkalayam asasvatam. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that this material world is very temporary. For example, in the Western countries, both in Europe and North America, especially Australia, New Zealand, there are many advanced facilities for healthcare. I mean, there are so many facilities, hospitals, hospices, so many different clinics, so many different doctors, so many different procedures to alleviate the suffering of this material world. But why are these facilities there? Because people are suffering. Why are they suffering? Because they have this material body. But nobody seems to inquire, how did we get this material body that is the subject of so much suffering? That is, in the Bhagavad Gita, the definition of intelligence is given by Lord Krishna. He says, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Dosha Anudarsanam. Anudarsanam means to be able to see the great distress, the great danger of accepting birth, death, old age, and disease. But people don't understand that. They think that if we can somewhere or other try to counteract these miseries, then life will be very nice. But you cannot counteract the miseries. It will always go on. Always. You cannot stop these miseries. The real solution is to make a permanent, the real remedy is to make a permanent solution to the problem of death, old age, and disease. Have you ever seen a baby coming out of the room smiling? They don't. Why? Because it is a suffering condition. It is full of misery to be in the womb for 9 months. And in Kali Yuga, so many foolish people say, oh, it's not alive. Let us abort the baby, infanticide. No, it's alive from the moment of conception on account of past karma. Why does somebody get a particular body born in a specific family, in a specific country, at a specific time, at a specific place? Why does somebody get a body in a very good family? Or somebody gets a body in the jungle in some other place? Or in a very poor family? Or as the son of Rockefeller or Ambani or Adani, some very wealthy person? Why? If everything happens by chance, why is everybody not born in a rich family? Why is everybody not born as beautiful as the most beautiful person? On the level of intelligence, some people are born, they eventually become geniuses. They're endowed with great intelligence, amazing intelligence. Some people, so-so. Some people dumb as a rock, like myself. So why, if there's no previous cause, why are there so many different varieties of life? Varieties of bodily situation? Why? They cannot explain. It doesn't happen by chance. It is due to our previous karma, our previous activities. Karanam gunasangasya sadasat yoni janmasu. Bhagavad Gita explains nicely why these different varieties of life happen. Karanam means cause. Gunasanga means association with the modes of nature, the mode of passion, the mode of ignorance, and the mode of goodness. That is why in the Bhagavad Gita, no, that's a different verse. But this is nice here. It is explained by Krishna, Janmadhyaha sadime bhava drishta dehasya natmanaha phalanam ivak vrikshasya kalaneshvara murtina. Just as the fruits and flowers of a tree in due course of time undergo 6 changes: birth, existence, growth, transformation, dwindling, and then death, the material body, which is obtained by the spirit soul under different circumstances, undergoes similar changes. However, there are no such changes in the spirit soul. I don't know, is this a verse from Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam? Where's this verse from? Can you put it to the bottom so we can see where is the verse from? The bottom of the verse, there should be a reference. Okay, this is from Srimad Bhagavatam 7:18. Beautiful. So this is very important to understand. Let's read a little bit of the purport. Put it up. Bring it up. Okay. This is a very important verse in understanding the difference between the spiritual soul and the material body. The soul is eternal, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 2:20. Najayati mriyati va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavanti vana bhuyaha ajo nityaha satsvato yam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. For the soul there is never birth nor death, nor having once been does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, dying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. The spirit soul is eternal, being freed from waste and change, which takes place because of the material body. The example of a tree and its fruits and flowers is very simple and clear. A tree stands for many, many years, but with the seasonal changes, its fruits and flowers undergo 6 transformations. The foolish theory of modern chemists that life can be produced by chemical interactions cannot be accepted as truth. The birth of a human being's material body takes place due to a mixture of the ovum and semen. But the history of birth is that although the ovum and semen mix together after sex, there is not always pregnancy. Unless the soul enters the mixture, there is no possibility of pregnancy. But when the soul takes shelter of the mixture, the body takes birth, exists, grows, transforms, and dwindles, and ultimately it is vanquished. The fruits and flowers of a tree seasonably come and go, but the tree continues to stand. Similarly, the transmigrating soul accepts various bodies which undergo 6 transformations, but the soul remains permanently the same. Ajo nityaha shashvatoyam purano nahanyate anyamane sharire, Bhagavad Gita 2:20. The soul is eternal and ever existing, but the bodies accepted by the soul are changing. Now, this is very important. This will be this particular verse and many other verses of a future program that Vishwakarma Prabhu is spearheading and we are developing about the science of self-realization, the basic fundamentals of the science of self-realization, and we will deal with this particular point of the soul, karma, what happens after life, what is the difference between the body and the soul, and so many related topics. We'll leave it at that for now, and a little bit later we will discuss what we discussed last Thursday about the exalted position of great yogis who are never under the influence of material nature during wakefulness, dreaming, and deep sleep. We will read about that a little bit later. Back to you, Vishwakarma, in the studio. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Oh, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for your very detailed explanation in an authoritative manner, because Prabhupada says we as devotees have no opinion. Actually, we only represent what Prabhupada has spoken and what Krishna has spoken, and everything that was presented today is based on their words, not ours. That's called Vani. Truth comes from Krishna. Everyone's looking for truth. That's a fact. And people have so many opinions, but that's not truth. Truth comes from Krishna in Bhagavad Gita and the other Shastras, and it comes from his bona fide representative, the Acharya. So Srila Prabhupada is the via transparent medium for Krishna. That's by service and surrender. It was interesting to note, Yashodanandana Prabhu, that in today's purport, Prabhupada says, a devotee never takes part of a particular party. Very interesting. As we know, Prabhupada, pre his meeting with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, was a member of Mahatma Gandhi's party for some time. And he was promoting this peaceful, nonviolent independence from England. But when he met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, His Divine Grace, he was persuaded to give that up and take to the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Gaudiya Math. So this is important for all of us to learn from that. We're not Americans. We're not Canadians, although we can identify at some level where we're born. But the fact of the matter is, Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nityadasa, we are, Michael, Dylan, eternal servants of Krishna. That's reality. And today's verses explain that without any confusion. Do not become bewildered. We see some people identifying, I'm a Ukrainian devotee, I'm a Russian devotee, I like the Ukrainian point of view, I like the Russian point of view. This will get you in trouble with the government. Shouldn't identify with these parties because we're not part of that. We're part of the transcendental mission of Lord Chaitanya. We're not the bodies. And we're not these designations. I'm Canadian, I'm American, I'm Indian. Like this. This is simple understanding of our philosophy. Very simple. But can people accept that? No. Why? Because they're attached. This attachment, this is a lifelong attachment to designation. And so we're always hearing the philosophy. Causeless knowledge and detachment are a result of steady digestion of transcendental knowledge. Prabhupada was a member of Mahatma Gandhi's, but when he met Bhaktisiddhanta, as I said, he gave it up. Now, further, Prabhupada, in this purport, on chapter 12, verse 16, he also mentions here a very interesting point of view. He said, a devotee may construct a temple for the Lord, for that he may take all kinds of anxiety. But he does not construct a big house for his personal relations. And when Prabhupada came to Toronto after we purchased the Avenue Road Church, he called me in his room upstairs. We had a separate quarters for him, his own washroom and bedroom and office. And he asked me to come into his private bedroom, and I was certainly honored to. I never expected that I'd get that mercy, but it all unfolded in a magical way. And he wanted to talk to me about the acquisition because remember, we were living in a slum part of the city called Allen Gardens. Across from the gardens was Gerrard Street Temple, 187 Gerrard. We had about 50 people living in one building. And somehow or other we evolved and we got this big building. And there we were, and then a lot of things changed. And Prabhupada asked me, well, how is the book distribution? After we moved in, and I told Prabhupada that there was some difficulty, some trouble in maintaining our book distribution because we had other expenses. Prabhupada looked at me and he said exactly like this, we have to take all kinds of anxiety for Krishna, so that is okay. Anxiety, difficulty. Without austerity, tapa, you can't make advancement. Without renunciation, sometimes people approach death. And in that state of death, they're thinking, okay, I'll give all my money to my relatives. What's that going to do? Nothing? Yeah, it won't do anything. It'll simply continue your entanglement in this material world. Yeah, there is a system for that, actually. Prabhupada explains it. 50% for spreading Krishna consciousness, 25% for taking care of your own bodily maintenance, and 25% for others. There's a system. And this will be a cause of liberation. Tapasya, sacrifice. You have to sacrifice your time. There's no alternative. There's easy to waste time. People do that. They get involved in all kinds of academic work. They get involved in all kinds of pursuits to make money. Oh, yeah. And, we're all victims of that. I certainly have been. So, but at the same time, we should come to a realization that the real business of the devotee is to serve with every ounce of his ability the mission of his spiritual master. That is called surrender, Michael. Give it up. We used to do that. You may construct a temple for the Lord, but you may get all kinds of anxiety. Now, it's interesting to note, you were talking about bath, Yashodananda, getting up in the morning. Actually, I recalled when you were telling that pastime that I was in Calcutta at the Calcutta Temple by chance during that time. And I remember that lake or that big pond out front of the temple there. And when Prabhupada told us that, it was a great revelation that you shouldn't take bath after eating. It would be bad for your health. We used to have a blue bus, Nilesh. It was called the nickname of it became the Vishwakarma luxury liner. But it was far from luxury, I must say that. I traveled with a friend of mine, Bibi Govinda Yojapati. I still remember us in Windsor, Ontario. We'd get in the bus and we'd go. We had no money. And we had a van too. So we had a big bus, a blue bus and that. But it was far from luxury. But it felt like luxury because of the opportunity that we had to serve our spiritual master by distributing books. Now in that, and you know who else traveled with us, Yashoda? Subal Swami. Back then, he went on the luxury liner with us. There was 6 of us. We used to just put our sleeping bags down on the tile floor. It was freezing in the winter. It was freezing. And we had a shower. They had built a shower and a kitchen at the back. There was no washroom, but we had at least the shower. But the shower was a steel floor. Now, we would get our water from hoses where we traveled. So we fill up the water tank for the kitchen and for the shower in the morning. We go in the shower. It was so cold, Nilesh, that when the water touched the steel and your feet stuck. They actually stuck to the steel, and your skin would come off. It was so cold. But all of us took it very quickly, by the way, very quick showers. But we took those showers and we always felt some kind of mercy because we were there on the mission of Srila Prabhupada to distribute his books. And we went up north to northern Ontario. We traveled up there. And at that time, we drove just in a van. And in North Bay, we stayed at Kamsa Hunta's house. Kamsa Hunta is a godbrother of ours. He passed away very recently. And we stayed there at his house. We had no accommodations. We were just, was very austere. And we'd go out in the water and break the ice water and do this morning ritual of a shower, so-called, very quickly. And then try to keep warm. So austerity was there, but it was being done for the preaching work of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was a glorious time, actually, very glorious. So this austerity, whether it's giving up your money or giving up your comforts for the benefit of the Lord, is an example that Prabhupada demonstrated for us even in the early days of New York City. Oh yes, he did. He lived in an office. He had no washroom. He had no kitchen to cook. And he would go up to Mishra's apartment and have his prasadam. And at the same time, he was robbed of all his possessions. And he never complained. We know that because, Prabhus, we've all been studying his pastimes in the diaries. You never heard Prabhupada complain about, and very interesting, Prabhus, when Prabhupada was passing away, and by the way, I can't even, myself personally, I can't even see the pictures. You know, when he went to England, and I saw how his body was disappearing, basically. It was such a tragedy. I still to this day cannot look at the pictures. I see them, they flash by, but that is not, but understand, he was suffering. But he never complained. Did he complain? No. And the doctors, they would say he was under great pain in that condition, but he did not complain. And he worked on up to the end of his presence, his physical presence with us, preaching, translating his books, his Vani, his words. That's an incarnation. And whatever the Guru speaks, that is Shastra. Don't minimize it. Our God brothers have minimized it. Very much so. And they philosophically twisted the meaning to justify their own personal ambitions. And this is a great offense. Absolutely. And those people that hear it, that believe it, they're also confused. And this will alter their ability to make advancement in spiritual life, because you cannot take the message from the lips of a serpent and think you'll go back to Godhead. It's poison. Yes, it is, Nilesh. Very much. Just like milk touched by the lips of a serpent is not digestible. So the sound vibration, the words coming from offensive disciples of his divine grace will not help the conditioned souls they think they're going to liberate. It will not help them on the path back home to Godhead. And we'll discuss it in our conversations. So, so much to understand in these programs. So much. And then apply it and be team players. Think about it. Pray that you can come to the realization that unless we come together and work together, it'll be very difficult for us to make advancement in spiritual life. Just one last point, Yashodanandana. Recently, a lady joined our PDA site on Facebook. We have, 23,000 members. I hope someday it'll be hundreds of thousands. And anyway, she joined the site. And then yesterday went to Oroville. I was talking to Ron Singh about distribution of books, because that will be a place for us to store some books that we're planning to get. And by chance, I was speaking to a devotee that wanted to, Bhakta there, that wanted to distribute books in India for us. And I'm going over the logistics of it with them. And some lady, let me think, I'm sorry, I don't have her name offhand. But she came to the door, and she was a Prabhupada disciple initiated in 1976. So while I was talking to him, she knocked on the door. Boom, 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 boom. And I heard her at the door, and then she came in. And then the Prabhu that I was talking to transferred me over to speak to her. And what did she tell me? I'm so alone. I have no association. So this is the situation. We're all alone. We've got a small collage of hopefully some new people that will be coming forward and joining our classes. Yes, joining these classes. I'm never happy when I just see 25 people. We had 28 people a little while ago, but some of them dropped off. whatever, maybe they had to go have their prasadam. But at the same time, our goal is to expand this mission. And that is done by the centers of influence in the particular people that are located around the world that are participating in this program. So if you have 25 of us, and we all have 5 people that join because of us, then that'll give us how many? 125. And if they attract 5 people, that'll give us 125 times 5, so almost 500 people. And like this, it'll proliferate. So all of you are centers of influence. Know it. Don't minimize who you are, and take advantage of this opportunity to propagate the Sankirtan movement through the Hare Krishna Society Prabhupada Disciples Association, which is giving the uncompromised truth to everyone. And this is the highest service that we can render to Srila Prabhupada. Yashodanandana Prabhu, if you could further articulate.
Very important points. I want to read from a section of Nectar of Devotion. I believe this is from chapter 30. This is a description. It says, there is an authoritative statement in the Garuda Purana about mystic yogis who are under the direct shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Quote, in all 3 stages of their consciousness, namely wakefulness, dreaming, and deep sleep, the devotees are absorbed in the thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, in their complete absorption in the thought of Krishna, they do not sleep. Now, this particular quote is in relationship of the experience I had with Srila Prabhupada in May of 1977, where Srila Prabhupada, when he was resting, he was never in deep sleep like we go into deep sleep. But Srila Prabhupada, every couple of minutes, kept saying something like Hare Krishna, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. You know, he would sing some Bengali song or something, then he would rest again. This is very, very important. The whole paragraph, it says, it may be questioned why devotees of Krishna should be attacked by dizziness, which is usually considered a sign of the modes of ignorance. To answer this question, Sri Jiva Goswami has said that the devotees of Lord Krishna are always transcendental to all the modes of material nature. When they feel dizziness or go to sleep, they're not considered to be sleeping under the modes of nature, but are accepted as being in trance of devotional service. This is a very important point. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Okay, we're moving ahead quite quickly today. I see the time is disappearing for us. So we're going to go to our panel. And we already have somebody that's, as usually, got his hand up, which we appreciate. And if anybody else has any questions or comments, please, by all means, don't be shy. We're always interested in hearing from different people. But we have Nilesh Sharma as a question for Yashodanandana. Nilesh, Prabhu, Haribo.
Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada. It's very interesting that we talk about continuously about the importance of putting Srila Prabhupada in the center of our devotional practice. And we talk about how there are other groups which push Vapu over Vani. But what is the real crux of having a guru or a bona fide guru in our spiritual life? I think we need to kind of touch upon that, because I'll try to share something over here.
Go ahead.
This is a lecture from Journey of Self-Discovery, from the book of Journey of Self-Discovery, where Prabhupada talks about the importance of having a bona fide spiritual master. You see? So here he talks about, in order to enter spiritual life, two things are required. As enunciated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one needs the mercy of Supreme Lord and the mercy of the spiritual master. So Brahmande Brahmande Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhakti Lata Bij. So we keep wandering from universes, continuing our cycle of birth, death, disease, and old age. But who can stop this? In fact, the Guru can help you transmigrate from this planet directly to the spiritual sky, Vaikuntha Loka, where there are innumerable spiritual planets. And the topmost planet in the spiritual sky is Krishna's planet called Goloka Vrindavan. The Krishna consciousness movement is trying to give information of how one can be transferred directly to Golok Vrindavan planet, Krishna Loka. That is our mission. Now look at this. We are bypassing Vaikuntha Loka. We are bypassing Brahmajyoti. We are bypassing all the higher spiritual planets, which are the Swarga Lokas, because we are not interested in any of these things, including Vaikuntha Lokas. So if we were to keep this Krishna consciousness movement pure and have a proper bona fide spiritual master, this mission can be accomplished. So then he goes ahead and explains that how many different types of jivas are there and everything. But here I would like to bring it about is that he talks about samsara dava nalalidha loka. We are singing this particular prayer during Mangla Arti, and here he says that. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull it up right here below. Everyone has a blazing fire within his heart, a blazing fire of anxiety. That is the nature of material existence. Always everyone has anxiety. No one is free from it. Even a small bird has anxiety. If you give the small bird some grains to eat, it'll eat them, but they won't eat very peacefully. So if you want to be anxiety-less, then you want to take the shelter of a guru. Now, what kind of guru? The spiritual master? The test of the guru is that the following his instructions, you will be free from anxiety. This is the test. So if you have spiritual masters, as Vishwakarma Prabhu says, who have millions and millions of dollars, why are they accumulating these millions and millions of dollars? What are they anxious about? And if they are anxious, how can they make you free from anxiety? Why Kuntha? Kuntha means anxiety. Why means without. So Vaikuntha planets are those planets which are without any anxiety. This is the test. Don't try to find a cheap guru or a fashionable guru. Just as you sometimes keep a dog as a fashion, if you want to keep a guru as a fashion, I have a guru, that will not help. You must accept a guru who can extinguish the blazing fire of anxiety within your heart. And that is the first test of the guru, the first test, not the only test. The second test, Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita, Vaditra Madhyana Manaso Rasena. The second symptom of the Guru is that he's always engaged in chanting, glorifying Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is his business. The business is not to make more disciples. The business is not to collect money. The business is not to spread his fame everywhere. What is it? Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita. The spiritual master is chanting the holy name of the Lord and dancing because that is the remedy for all calamities within the material world. So at the present moment, no one can mediate. The so-called meditation now popular in the West is humbug. It is very difficult to meditate in this disturbing age of Kali. And he goes on to explain this, but then I would like to bring it to another point. We sing during Guru Puja. What do we sing? We sing Chakshudan Dilo Je Janme Janme Prabhu Se. Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinashe Jate. Vede Gai Jahara Charito. He who has given us the gift of transcendental vision Now, if you're not a bona fide spiritual master coming in the disciplic succession where your predecessing acharya has ordered you, remember this order is the way through which the mercy of Krishna comes through this order. Krishna ordered Brahmaji to create and to become the spiritual master. So the mercy flowed from Krishna to Brahmaji. Brahmaji ordered Narad Muni to do that. And that way, through that order comes the mercy. So if you don't have the order, can you give this gift of transcendental vision? Can you give this mercy, that divine knowledge which is revealed within one's hearts? Will the Paramatma seated in your heart allow you to understand Jnanam, Jnanam, Shravanam, Jnanam, Smritim, Apohanam cha. The knowledge, the remembrance, and forgetfulness is because of me, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. So if he's seated in your heart as Paramatma, will this Divya Jnana, Hriday Prakashita, will this divine knowledge be revealed within your hearts? This is the very critical question which we need to ask each one of us. So why is Vapu not so important? Why is Vani so important? And why should the Vani not be changed? Because if we want to achieve this ultimate mission of being straight into the spiritual sky in the highest planetary position, even within the spiritual sky, then we have to follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions. So very critical that we need to understand all these points put together. So it is not just the legacy that we are trying to preserve. We are trying to preserve the original knowledge so that each one of us, if we were to follow those instructions, follow them in a transparent way, we can achieve the final mission. I would love to know what Yashodanand Prabhu has to say. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I'm going to make a further comment. It is, legacy is the words. Okay, so it's simultaneously the same, just to clarify that. We are here for that reason. But the whole thing is, Prabhu, is, and you made a good point, a very good point, about finding a bona fide spiritual master. And we're working towards giving people the knowledge of how to perceive spiritual life correctly by that association. But realization, how do you get Vijnanam? Jnanam is one thing. Yeah, you have knowledge, we have some knowledge, but it is through surrender. There is a surrender sacrifice process here, Prabhu, that brings about a real advancement. Hearing it, that's one thing. Okay? But sacrifice and surrender, all of them as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. And the more we all take this mission seriously and see ourselves moving forward and developing our process of protecting, then we'll get the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Yashodanandana, and I wanted to bring up Yashodanandana, something in the chat as well that maybe you could respond to. How does one go about finding a bona fide spiritual master now? This is Vivek. Thank you for that question. It's a very good question. And we'll have Yashodanandana give us a response. Yashodanandana Prabhu. That's a very good question. Thank you.
I put a little quote here from the Bhagavatam because this issue of physicality, non-physicality, Vani Vapu, and it helps to shed some light from Prabhupada's perspective, separate from all the deliberations and the arguments of different people. This is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, from the 3rd canto, 31st chapter, text 48. Srimad Bhagavatam, canto 3, chapter 31, text 48. Srila Prabhupada explained in the text, it says, endowed with right vision and strengthened by devotional service and a pessimistic attitude towards material identity, one should relegate his body to this illusory world through his reason. Thus, one can be unconcerned with this material world. In the purport, Prophet explains, it is sometimes misunderstood that if one has to associate with persons engage in devotional service, he will not be able to solve the economic problem. To answer this argument, it is described here that one has to associate with liberated persons, not directly physically, but by understanding through philosophy and logic the problems of life. It is stated here, Samyag Darsanayat Buddhya. One has to see perfectly, and by intelligence and yogic practice, one has to renounce this world. That renunciation can be achieved by the process recommended in the second chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The devotee's intelligence is always in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His attitude towards the material existence is one of detachment, for he knows perfectly well that this material world is a creation of illusory energy. Realizing himself to be part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, the devotee discharges his devotional service and is completely aloof from material action and reaction. Thus, at the end, he gives up his material body or the material energy, and as pure soul, he enters the kingdom of God. This is simultaneously an answer, a comment on Neil Sharma Prabhu's point, and also as well to that question, how to approach a bona fide spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada structured his mission. He himself did not physically live and interact with everybody that he initiated. Okay, in 1966, 67, there are a few devotees, fortunate souls, got the chance to directly associate with Prabhupada. But as the movement expanded, everything was being done to representative, leading devotees, senior devotees, temple presidents, sannyasis, and other devotees. Representatives would recommend people for initiation, and people would follow the natural process, and in this way, accepting Srila Prabhupada as their spiritual master. But the main point here that Prabhupada is making, Prabhupada said, one has to associate with liberated persons, not directly physically, but by understanding through philosophy and logic the problems of life, which is exactly along the line of what Neil Sharma Prabhu was presenting. This is a very important point, because this misconception that has been propagated, this Vapuvad philosophy that has poisoned the whole atmosphere, that people have to physically associate with people in order to understand Prabhupada's teachings. This is nonsense. Prabhupada's teachings are like the sun. They're self-effulgent. Anybody can understand them and practice them. Now, one can take guidance from a devotee, can take shiksha and instruction, but the transmission of transcendental knowledge, of pure, unadulterated, complete, non-contaminated divyam jnanam, or transcendental knowledge, is being given by Srila Prabhupada every single day, assuming you can get his original books. Now, once it touches the pen of some so-called editors with their nonsense interpretations, then it's something else altogether. But what to expect from those who claim that they have seen the truth? Thank you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Very, very insightful reading there. Thank you both for that. And also, I wanted to mention to Vivek here, that you can become a Prabhupada disciple these days through the Ritvik system. Yes. That we have a review board that has set down different qualifications for a person to follow. And by following the process that is outlined, which was fundamentally given by Srila Prabhupada, and you show your determination and your selfless surrender to this mission, that you could be recommended for initiation. And we have perform the Ritvik system of initiation with many people, yes. And some of them are sincere and they're still following, and some maybe not. We're becoming more rigid with it, of course, Vivek, as we go along and we gain our experience. And really that happened, years ago when I used to recommend to Prabhupada disciples, and nowadays they're not following much the process, but they were initiated. So there is a system, and really the initiation is your understanding of this process and your commitment to this process and your surrender to the spiritual master and his words, and then your cooperation with other God brothers and God sisters to work together to fulfill the mission that Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya had given us. So it's your commitment that will make you a disciple. And we're here to facilitate that you can be a Prabhupada disciple, a bona fide Prabhupada disciple. And we regard highly the people that have taken up this process in 2025 and are very serious about being the servants of Srila Prabhupada and this mission. So I hope that helps. And we want to thank everyone for this. I always say it's blissful. Actually, it kind of, for us, as the class goes on and we keep hearing and people keep speaking and we're getting the medicine of spiritual life coming through the ear, you start to feel blissful, eh, Michael? There's like this ecstasy that comes through some. Words are very powerful. Very powerful. Like very recently, there was a big event at the Super Bowl. And there was this hip hop artist that got up and did this chant, his chants. And it was quite interesting. And it's actually affected hundreds of millions of people, Nilesh. Hundreds of millions of people. And what did he do? He simply spoke. That's all. Just words. So words are very powerful. Yes, they are. But the transcendental sound vibrations of Srila Prabhupada's words and the Hare Krishna mantra are what we're preaching to others. We're practicing it and we're expressing it to others because this is the most important thing. Because before you know it, you'll be old. Before you know it, you'll become diseased. And before you know it, you'll be called to leave your body. And when that happens, we can take shelter in this preparation process for going back home, back to Godhead, because each one of us is working together to surrender to this process as our life and soul. As our life and soul. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We're going to invite everybody to come back tomorrow. Nilesh, we hope to see you tomorrow so you can continue to pump us up. When people give these introductions, these points of view back and forth all around, up and down, this is the enjoyment of Krishna consciousness in association with others. Let's move forward with the chanting of Hare Krishna. 2 minutes and 54 seconds of the Harinam chanted by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Michael Haribo, you seem like you're in ecstasy. I love it. I love it. I can feel it. Haribo.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. Let us all offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Thanks, everybody, for participating in this lively discussion of reading and discussion. Thanks, Vishwakarma Prabhu in Hamilton, Ontario, Michael Dillon in Yuba City, California, Rochissa Devi Mataji in Montreal, Cold Canada, Montreal, Quebec, Canada, Vijay Pandit Prabhu, Bhakta Zoran, grazie mille, in Oroville, Italy, near Venice, Krishna Katha in San Diego with a beautiful display of Srimad Bhagavatam, and the one and unique Neil Shyama Prabhu in Florida. Thank you so much for your comments and that beautiful picture of Krishna and Arjuna. Pier Angelo in Switzerland, Rupa Goswami Prabhu in Bombay, and the one and only Ram Raghava Prabhu in Georgia. Thank you so much for participating. Everybody, Dharma Bhavana, Kanta Prabhu, Radharani, Forest Temple, wherever you are, Bhakta Roy, every Bhakta Vikek, everybody, please come again tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock a.m. for Srimad Bhagavatam discussion. Again, we will have some interesting discussion on various important topics relating to Srila Prabhupada's teachings and discussion. Hare Krishna, all glories to his divine Guru Srila Prabhupada and his bona fide disciples. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.